please.
Father, you thank you again for allowing us to come into the hand of our city business. We actually look down upon us with knowledge and wisdom that we may make the right decisions to take our city on to the future. We actually bless this town as leaders, both city and state and county. We actually bless our federal and state. We actually bless the soldiers that's on the battlefield. In the name of the pray, amen.
Amen. Let's stand and pledge allegiance to our country. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Gentlemen, you've got the agenda printed before you. Is there any corrections or adjustments, requests that you want to put in on the agenda?
I don't know if I'm putting the cart before the horse, but I do have an executive session item for tonight.
Any corrections to the agenda or modifications that you'd like to make? Hearing none, I entertain a motion that the agenda be approved. Mr. Johnston moved that the agenda be approved as printed, and Mr. Ramey has seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we've got our work cut out for us. Number one is the budget, and I think we went over among ourselves everything real well in the work session, but our budget has been finalized with very minor adjustments. And I did get the last 2 or 3 little changes that pass this down, please. 2 or 3 little changes that was put in case you've got any questions about the last little bit. We made some very minor changes. One thing we, in the police department, we added, of course, like I said, if you're keeping notes Thursday night, it's all there. We added recruitment costs. We finally, they've convinced us that we're not going to find available new law enforcement officers holding their credentials, that we can find some qualified young men or women and pay them and send them to the academy and get back with a conditional contract that they remain with us for a few years, and of course that's in question, we know. But at any rate, we've been put in the budget $10,000 for recruitment costs for new employees. We took the capital outlay that we had in there initially in the amount of $25,000. We changed, took part of that and put in the new air conditioning for $15,000, and we put the other 10 in the recruitment cost. The personnel, since we think this is pretty well finalized, that we've been providing at no charge to the Board of Education for a number of years a police officer, and we handle all costs with no questions asked. Because of the tremendous amount of hazards that we've had about the country, now we're all seeing that we've got to be ready over there. So tentatively, and I think pretty much conclusive, Mr. Ramey can correct this in a minute if he needs to, I think we're to provide 2 full-time police officers to the school system. And the school system is going to pay the full salary of these 2, or reimburse us. Wait a minute now. They're still our employees. They're going to reimburse us for the amount of their salary. We are to pay their benefits. And the benefit package for the 2 officers that we will be providing is about $20,000. So we didn't correct the wage and hour personnel cost, because it's going to wash itself out and maybe leave a little room for at least 1 new officer to replace the officer that we're losing. Let's see, we had to add $15,000 to the fire department budget. We had an engine, a motor to go out on engine number 1, and I think if it's not in the shop for repair, it will be soon. We're going to pull the engine and completely rebuild it. It's about $15,000, so we added and worked that into the fire department budget. Let's see, was there any other changes? I think that's it. You all remember anything? It was all we went over Monday night.
You on the, I see the couple of departments here. This does not include, we took the wages out, right?
Raises, no, this is the cost as it stands now, with no increases. Sometimes we've been at this stage in the budget year saying we're gonna give a flat 3% or some raise. That is not in there. No salary changes for anybody at this time. What we plan to do is sometime about the end of the year, when we get our personnel chart like we wanted, then we'll talk about raises and other things at the end of the year, the calendar year, not the fiscal year. No raises in this at all. The total general budget is $3,406,000. The water sewer budget's $1,700,000, almost $2 million, and the golf course is $186,000, and as a deficit, the revenue out at the golf course has been being about $100,000, but it has been even more than that. But last year, about $100,000 loss out there, and we're projecting this year with the growth that we've seen, that we're going to have to put in about $68,000 in the golf course this year. So it's improving each year. If there's not any questions about this, now we're here to answer them. I think we've hashed them over enough, this group up here. But if there's any question, I entertain a motion that we approve the budget.
Make a motion to approve the budget.
Got a motion made that we approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded and third down there. All right, any further discussion? Mr. Rainey, you want to correct anything about the school resource officers?
No, other than the fact that the sheriff's department will be providing one also very similar to what that we're talking about.
So we're doing one and they're doing one.
We're doing two and they're doing two and they're doing one.
At this time.
Gotcha.
And as I understand it, their system is going to be the same as ours. Board of Education is going to pay the salary, and the sheriff's department will put the benefits in their budget.
I know you're gonna get upset with me, but this $3,400,000, now, the clerk, the accountant and all, this balances, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, all right, no
Yeah.
problem. I understand that. As long as you balance it.
I wouldn't put one that didn't balance in front of me.
All right.
The general, in fact, we were, by the way, of course, this is for the benefit of them more so than y'all. Actually, with this general fund balance, we're putting $80,000 in capital reserves. So it's putting a little nest egg away in that balanced budget there. And we've got the same in the water and sewer. Now, the golf course is a different animal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No comments. All right, we've got a motion and a second that we approve the budget for the coming year, and I think we're tired of discussing it. Are you ready for a vote? All right, I call for a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The budget is approved. Thank God. All right, let's go on to the next item. Brenda, we've got your quote in the disastrous news that you've sent us. Would you like to come up and briefly explain it? We're not going to make a final decision on this tonight. I know the time is of essence, and we've got to make a decision within just a few days.
Yeah.
But to come up and kind of give us a synopsis of this quote system that you've given us, and give it now. Really make it as brief as you can, please.
Okay, I will. I just wanted to let you know that the difference in the premium from last year to the premium for this year overall is going to be right at $7,000. That's the difference, and that's an increase. The workman's comp, we had a better mod this year, experienced mod, so we were able to bring the workman's comp premium down. Last year it was $92,792. This year we got the quote in at $81,192. The airport went up just a little bit, and that's because of the two losses from 2015 that have now been settled. And that's all of that was defense costs and everything with those deaths. With the deer, we hit the deer, and and all those costs that we had there. And the bonds stayed the same. the package went up, and I praise God that it's only this amount. Because, you know, we got like a 300% loss ratio on those lines of business. So, you know, it's hard, and the company that we're going with, I couldn't, the company that we had before would not even quote us. They said they've had enough, and so they wouldn't even quote us. But with Travelers, it's an 8+15, which is one of the most sound insurance companies out there. And they came in with this quote. Mostly what the difference is, real quickly I'll tell you what the difference is. The difference is mostly in the professional liability. And, you know, we've got those 2 suits still sitting out there. And it's because of that. And the general liability went up too, because some of the wreck that happened in front of the Dairy Queen, some of that came into play under that. So that's all the differences this year, and I'm telling you, it was nail biting to try to get this quote. So
Of course, we all have these figures in front of us, maybe some of you don't have it. Last year, we paid $206,505 premium, is what she's going over. And this year, the same different groups of coverage that she's mentioned in the different areas, but our premium's gone up to $213,599 is the amount of the insurance for the coming year, and it's got to be renewed in just a few days. Ms.
now, why can't we vote on this tonight?
I was gonna ask the same
Is there a
question.
reason why it can't be voted on tonight?
Well, we, as you know, we are looking. We are members of the Georgia Municipal Association,
I understand.
and we're talking with people with GMA, and they've got a tremendous umbrella. And we've looking at their figures, and we don't have all that together, but I think by the time we get through with this GMA meeting this week and the next week, I think everybody will have all the information.
But my question is this, if we were supposed to have the quotes in today,
In one area that she is lower, and she's a local business.
I understand that. That's the reason we've been doing business with them. Most likely we will. But I think we, of course, here again.
I don't see why we can't take a vote on it.
Well, I was proposing that we look at the GMA proposal a little further, just to assure her that she's in line with everything, and us too. But if you want to, it's up to the council.
I would think that since we were told we had to have the quotes in today,
I would like to make a motion.
Well, you certainly, that's your prerogative.
I would like
You
to make
said we had to have a quote in today?
that's what we were
The
told.
deadline was to be today.
The deadline was
Yes.
today when the quotes
Because
came
we've
in.
only got, she has got, either one of them has got to get the information in. Y'all, we have got to get a vote to them before next Wednesday to submit it, because our package goes out June 30th.
That's Friday. That's next Friday. And, you know, we have, you know, all these vehicles we have to get the ID cards for. We have all the binders that has to be done and all that stuff, you know, has to be done.
Okay, we got a motion on the floor. Is there a second? Hearing none, we will handle it next week with a call meeting.
You did it. Thank you.
Okay, let's move on. Mr. Attorney, item number 3 is, we've got some trees protruding up in the flight glide path at the airport that we've been dealing with for a long time. You got any news on that?
What we're gonna do, based on our discussion at the work session, we're gonna give it all a deadline after next week. We're gonna set a deadline to either come to the table, let's do something, or file a condemnation. We have no other choice.
Okay, we're at the end of our rope with that, been right in for a long time. I guess the only thing we can do is wait on that. Okay, let's move along. Our beloved brethren in the Georgia General Assembly, of which, as you know, I am a former member, we're always playing hell in one way or another. We've got a hands-free act coming in force the first of next month. And Ms. Lopez, you want to explain what you're trying to get done with this?
Basically, this is a memorandum that's going to be handed out to every employee every city official that they will go by the rules that are in the HB 673, which is the Hands-Free Georgia Act. This will need to be signed and returned to me by June the 29th, because I'm sure that once all this is done, whatever insurance company we go with, they will want a copy or note of some submittal stating that every employee is aware of what's going to be happening. Also, for the vehicles that are Bluetooth, make sure you use the Bluetooth that is in your vehicle. If not, for those that we have to work with the water department, with the street department, we will be looking at getting a hands-free device for them to wear. Because also, when you start reading our personnel manual, if you do not abide by the safety that's mentioned in your personnel manual, there will be repercussions for this.
Okay, that's the only thing that I know of that is not in the budget. I talked to Carl. Carl has got some other obligations. He felt like that he really needed to handle him. I concurred with him. The reason he's not here. But there will have to be some headsets or something that doesn't cost too much to be supplied in order for them to comply with this. And Carl said that he didn't think it would create any problem to provide those that needed it, the headsets that they need. Any other discussion about the new law coming in? Hearing none, let's move on. All right, the next item
We need to make a motion and vote on that.
that we adapt
That
it.
we adopt that.
Okay, I entertain a motion that it's a Georgia law, I don't think we got any choice, but we'll go with it.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we adopt the policy that it be mandatory for all our employees
To follow the law.
to follow the law.
Okay, all right. Is there a second to that?
Second.
As if we got a lot of authority there. Okay, anything else? Any other discussion? Hearing none, I call for the vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion's carried. We've concurred with our legislators. Next item is concerning our water tank maintenance and repair. Excuse me.
Work detail.
Did I skip one?
Yes, sir.
I'm trying to hell of her. I'm sorry. Forgive me. Go back to number 5. That's the agreement with the Georgia Department of Corrections. We got a work team that comes and helps us 4 days a week. And we have in years past had a little problem. But right now, for the last, I don't know how long, the person that they've assigned to handle this work detail, it works with us and our people real well to bring the prescribed number of employees, prisoners, and we're getting our money's worth out of this. And so I entertain a motion that we renew our contract with the Department of Corrections on the cleanup detail that they send over here 4 days a week.
I'll motion that we continue with work detail.
Mr. Johnson made the motion, we continue with our correction department detail. Is there a second? Second and third. Any further discussion? You know, call the vote. All in favor say aye. Aye. All right, now let's go to the water tank situation.
Is that Bacon County?
Pardon?
Bacon
Bacon County. All right, we have had a water well and tank out of commission here for a number of years. The lead type paint that was inside the tank and other things, first they said we were going to have to screen that entire tank, and the cost of getting that lead out of there and correcting things that need to be corrected just was not feasible. Since that's happened, they've come back to us with a new process, and we have entered a contract with them, and they have now got our tank clean. They've got it refurbished inside and out. We've redone all of our valves and entrance. We're connected to not only the well there, but by the way, we had to have our well retested. EPD and everybody's checked all of it out and approved it. To make a long story short, we have put a well and a 150,000 gallon water tank back in service. And we've had a contract with, what do they call it?
Utility Vision.
Utility Vision. We've had a contract on the Baxley Highway tank as well, and the Odom Street for some years. We've had the Odom Street, as you know, repainted. We're fixing to repaint the 341. So the contract for Odom Street is $10,600 a year. The contract for Baxley is $9,400 a year. And now we've got a new contract since we put the well on Gill Street back in service for $9,400 a year. And we're going to prorate the cost of painting that Baxley well of $40,000 a year over 3 years. And all that's worked into the budget, and we've agreed that Utility Vision and us have worked together in a call meeting. So we're ready now to approve the contract. The only additional thing you've got is the new contract, service contract of $9,400 on Gill Street. And instead of having to put the whole $125,000 or $30,000 out initially, we're going to break it down into 4 payments, and they've agreed to do that. And we can go ahead and get the Baxley well in good shape. I entertain a motion that we approve the contract with Utility Vision.
Make a motion to approve the contract with Utility Vision.
Mr. Bloodworth has made a motion that we approve the contract. Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Johnson has seconded. Is there any further discussion about the contract? Hearing none, I call for the vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, we've got a new contract with Utility Vision. Next is the resource officers, which we've gone over budget-wise a few minutes ago. We're sort of repeating ourselves a little, but I'm going to let Mr. Remy go over what he's done. He's sort of carried the ball with school resource officers. Would you handle number 7?
I don't know about how much I was carrying the ball, but all of them did meet. The board voted and passed the action, I think this past week. And they're supposed to, as you said a while ago, pay the salary for the full year for the officers. We pay the benefits, and we should be in the process right now of getting officers trained, and should have 2 of our city officers on the job.
Thank you, sir. Any further discussion or questions relative to this issue? We've got it approved and in our budget. I think maybe it will be good, even though we've worked at it budget-wise. I think in this case it might be good for us to have a motion that we proceed with providing the 2 officers as requested by the school board. Somebody want to make that motion?
So moved.
Mr. Ramey has made a motion that we approve our agreement with the Board of Education relative to school resource officers. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Johnson. Any further discussion?
Did they get them into the training? Did they
Pardon?
have them ready to go? They got them into the July training?
There's a fellow just smiling out there that's got his bags packed and his pencil in his pocket so he can, all that's, we think we're on the ball with it.
All right.
Any further discussion about this item? Hearing none, I call for the vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, Mr. School Board Member, we've agreed with your request. Roundabouts, update on right-of-way acquisition. I can give you a report, the Board of Education met today and approved the signing of the final right-of-way easements for the construction of the 2 roundabouts. And they're in our office, and the chairman of the school board was in, and we witnessed the signatures, and now everything, I think we've got everything that we need and supposedly, now that all of the right-of-way easements are signed, the final construction crews, Orchard Power's got some work to do, AT&T's got some work to do, and who else? I
Did the
believe
county sign those easements they were supposed to?
the county doesn't have any.
They didn't have any? Well, I'm gonna plead to the council, if I may, that we just quash this idea and put some 4-way stops up.
Okay,
It's in the best interest of the people. The people don't want the roundabouts, and I think it'll save the city some money. And I just really plead to the council if they'll reconsider this.
Okay, are you making that form of a motion?
I will make it in the form of a
We
motion.
got a motion on the floor. Is there a second? Hearing none, your motion dies, Mr. Bloodworth.
Always does. When you're playing with a stacked deck, it always does.
Okay, anything else about the roundabouts? I think we're up to date on everything, and progress has already started out there. Dirt's moving, and I think we've done our best and made our best judgment. All right. The next item is we've completed. Most of you know we've just finished a new addition to our airport, including a taxiway and all new lighting out there. And the airport is really in real good condition. But right after we finished with all the dirt movement and all out there, we got about 5 inches of rain. And boy, did we have, even with the silt screen and following all the rules, all that new dirt movement, there's just too much rain, and we've got some erosion that's hurting us. But I'm told the contractors is back out there, and we're helping, and together with us and the contractor, the corrective action is being taken, and they tell me that sometime after they're going to work straight Friday, Saturday, and Sunday if necessary with all the materials. They put all the workforce out there, and that the airport will be back. The dirt will be back where it's supposed to be. It'll be graded properly, and now if we put the right kind of erosion control materials out there, we should have a good project. So that should be completed by the time the weekend is gone. Any questions about that? Hearing none, we'll move on. Okay, for those of you that may not know, we have expressed our desire to house the Georgia State Patrol station here in Hazelhurst, Georgia. I got with the colonel up in Atlanta some months ago, and he put it before his board, and they said for us to proceed. And I think we've made, of course, he told me about a month ago, maybe a little longer now. But I told you it was going to take time. I said I didn't think it was going to take this long. But at any rate, we have submitted all of the property deeds and resubmitted them twice or 3 times, and the real estate people are satisfied now with the elevation. The last thing they were concerned about was they were in the area. We're adjacent to some wetland property, but this property is 4 point something feet above any wetland property at all. Plus, we're going to, with the last drawing that was submitted to the real estate unit, we're putting additional good fill in so that the station will be high and dry and in good shape. It's located out on, as you know, out on 341, and we've got all that finalized now. When I first went with this thing, I went with it under the impression that we were going to build a station and under some type of lease. It was all on city property. And when I got through, I got a little education of how the system works and what happens at all. And in doing that, I came back to the county and I said, look, not only is it going to help the town of Hazelhurst and help us, our group that we represent, but it's going to be a tremendous benefit to the county. And if it lasts like the others that I've followed and know about, it'll be an asset in our community for years and years to come. So we've been moving on it. We've had a little difference of opinion with the county commissioners. And you got to remember now, they got brought into this thing late too, so I'm not criticizing them. We're giving them plenty of time. But Monday night when we were in here, y'all instructed us to meet soon, and the soonest date that we get, our attorney and their attorney and the commissioners are going to meet Monday or Tuesday, and supposedly iron out the little differences that we have about how we're going to handle it. And with that transmitted to Atlanta, I hope they're going to pretty soon tell us to start building. But now, that's I hope. We've done a lot of work on it. I hope that's going to be the case. Any questions?
You just answered my question, when we're going to meet. I knew we was working that direction.
I tried to get it this week, gentlemen, but I
Right,
couldn't.
well, it's
I did-
kind of complication on this week.
Yeah, but we're meeting either Monday or Tuesday with attorneys and commissioners and me, and we're gonna iron out our differences, and I hope that we're gonna send our who we're dealing with, they will send all this information, you can send it. Okay, there, so we have to go through them to get all this done, and I think if Colonel McDonald and I had, the two of us had worked it out, we'd have had it built by now, but it didn't work that way. So that's where we are. Gentlemen, we're glad you're here. We hope this is gonna be your base very soon. And, we've got the plans, and, we trucked up, actually, part of us went to one installation, and I've been to two more. And, we know exactly what's wanted and what expected, and, we're ready to provide it for you.
Thank you. Thanks, sir.
Any other comments? Hearing none, let's move along. All right. Mr. Bloodworth, you had put on here something about the golf course.
Yeah, I talked to a board member the other day and some other people who had went to play golf Saturday. They had that tournament, and after the tournament was over, the people were going to play, but I forget which employee it was, actually closed the course down, and there was still like 3 hours of playing time there for that day. They said that they were not allowed any overtime, so I was going to petition the council to see if we couldn't allow those guys to make some overtime on an as-needed basis, or try to hire somebody part-time to work the pro shop so we don't have to close the course.
They closed the course with people out there?
Yes, but they were told they couldn't get any overtime and they had already worked their hours.
Well, that's the first I've heard of that. They've been working real good, but I don't doubt it. The rains have come good, and the golf course, according to what everybody's telling me, is really looking good. They've been begging for help, and we've been searching, trying to find some help. We're having to try to stay within our budget, as you know. It doesn't carry its own weight, and we've been providing, well, to be honest with you, we've put probably close to $500 million in that golf course in the last few years, over and beyond what it's brought in. And last year, it was only $90-something, about 90,000 short, and it's still improving, and I think this year we've got it budgeted in such a way that we plan to put no more than 68,000 in it. And I feel it's a very workable budget. And I personally, I used to play a lot of golf. I don't play much anymore. But I personally think the golf course is a real asset to our community. We want to have a growing community and provide. So I'm certainly in favor of continuing to budget it as we've got it in our budget. And I'm sorry about that, John. I haven't heard that before, but you heard the man's plea.
I think we need to do whatever it takes to keep it open. I know the biggest thing was the children at school when we started off, and now that it's beginning to do better, other people are going. And whatever it takes to keep it going for the public, we need to do that. I don't know how you would come up with part-time, whatever.
We're working on
we need
it.
to look at it.
We're working on it, I'm sure.
We don't need to close it. Not if you got people out there.
Was that Saturday?
Is anybody here familiar with the stagger law? Using other city employees to fill in out there?
I ain't never heard that.
When
Okay.
was what, your question?
Was that Saturday?
It was,
You know what they had Saturday?
yes.
They had, the golf course was absolutely full. Every cart was used, and they brought one that
This
was,
was after the
yeah.
tournament.
And they didn't tee off until sometime between 9 and 10 o'clock. And I don't know what time they were all getting through, but I guess maybe the boys must have finally they came back and put all the carts up, they told me, but I think some of them come in late. I don't understand why, I haven't had that problem before.
Okay, as city clerk, and I do the payroll and everything, okay? If you do not want to pay the guys overtime, I'm gonna suggest something. Okay, we have 2 or 3 employees within our city that if they're not out on a call, or they're not, and they've already got their work called up, and they're just waiting to do things, can you not take that employee, whether it be from the street department, the water department, animal control department, or even city hall up here? You can take one of those employees, move it out to the golf course, allow Bryce or Tony to leave for 3 or 4 hours, 2 or 3 times a week, let that other city employee do what needs to be done, taking in the money, get the golf carts out, so on and so forth. And then on the weekends, when there is a tournament out there, Tony or Bryce would be available to work those hours because you've got the city employee here that can go and relieve them.
Okay, I don't know whether we want to get involved in naming who these employees are right here.
No, you
But,
don't have to name them.
But it certainly sounds good to me that if we got somebody sitting with their finger sitting idle for a while, absolutely, to go and relieve them for a certain period of time yeah, I think that's a great
I'm
idea.
actually utilizing an employee just like that now.
Okay,
But I was under
They're
the
getting
impression-
paid either way, but I'm utilizing them while they're down.
well, that would be the employee that you're talking about. I happen to know about that. That might could work out there some. That's a wonderful idea. I think we've just begun to come up with some solutions here. You know, good things can happen at city council meetings. Hey, that's great. Well, okay, Mr. Bloodworth, I think maybe you've brought it to our attention, and this may have got something working here.
Thank you.
I think that's great. Okay. Now we've got some training, and y'all, it's let's be honest, we've got training from 3 different departments here: police department, clerk, water department. Street, let's take, this is all training for employees 12, 13, and 14, and 15 is all training. I entertain a motion that we approve the training items mentioned in items 12, 13, 14, and 15.
I'll go motion.
Mr. Johnson made the motion, we approve all 4 items. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Ramey. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I call for the vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the vote's carried. The training can proceed. All right. You've also got, again, for the benefit of our guests, each month, there are certain adjustments. Sometimes a water line will burst, and something will happen that a person just can't help it. The water bill, instead of being $55 a month, will be $455 a month, and Ms. Lori comes in and takes care of all that. So we have some adjustments that are common every month that we approve. And you've got the check register that you look at. We've all looked over that. I entertain a motion that we approve the water and garbage trash report and the water and sewer adjustments. That's just 2 items. Motion is made that we approve them. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Ramey. All in favor say aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, is carried. Now, any questions about the check register? Okay. I entertain a motion that we approve that.
So moved.
Motion is made. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Johnson. All in favor say aye. Okay, now then, you've got the audit report finally before you. And if you had a chance to look at the audit report, you ought to be proud of it. We've got an audit report with absolutely no findings, which means the auditor couldn't fuss at us about one single thing. Now that's good.
Now, Ms. Tammy has said if you would like for her to come next month and go over this, if you will reference to page 53, you will notice under financial statement findings, as Mayor Stone said, no audit findings. But on page 54, the audit finding for 2016, That one it's no longer exist, and that was the budget overrun.
And we corrected that. Previous year, we had a budget overrun, that she just mentioned. I wanted to tell them the good, I didn't want to tell them the bad. But we did have a little audit finding in previous years, but this year we had a clean slate, and we had a completely clean audit, and I think that's to be commended.
And they don't have to do that.
Yeah, they've got it, the lending on the back of it, that's right.
As long as
Okay.
we
Huh?
let- as long as we let-
All right, let's move along. We always, sometime years past, it was a requirement, if you were gonna get on the calendar or agenda with the city meetings, you had to come down ahead of time and tell us what you were gonna talk about and get printed and beforehand. Since I've been here, I said if a person in this city or anybody walks in that door and they're interested in what's going on, we have a time that you can come in and say what in the heck you please. So it's that time. Yes, sir.
May I approach?
Sure.
Just like you did.
Mr. Mayor, council, ladies and gentlemen in the audience, I want to thank you for the opportunity again to once again address this body regarding the issue of the roundabouts. I know that it came up at a vote a moment ago, but I'd like to present some thoughts in addition to what I presented last week. I have 6 questions, some of which have afterthoughts to ask you tonight. In the interest of time, rather than expecting an answer after each question, I will simply pose the questions, and I'm going to give you a written copy of these questions so that you can have the opportunity to address them. Speaking of the fact that being in the interest of time, there is the matter not only of this meeting, but 47 days till the first day of school. 47 days till the first day of school. This is not one of my questions, but will the roundabout be completed in 47 days?
Let me stop you there and tell you, even as of Monday night, the contractor looked at the delays that we've had with easements and relocating utilities. Even with that, they're already working in the areas that the easements are available, dirt's already being moved, and he assures us, the council has been as worried as you are, but he assures us the roundabouts will be completed, school will be no deterrent whatsoever with school traffic, and that we're going to complete the projects on schedule.
We'll hope so.
Now, I'll say something there too. You know, I have harped on that situation. And as of today, I remind you, you told me about the days there. There are 23 working days that there are in the standard week. And I've got the promise, said, I guess there's no guarantees in our life, but I've got the promise that if it is not completed to the satisfaction that they can drive through, they'll put 4-way stops and complete what are the little things that they have to do during the time that they're in school, not at the beginning of school or at the end of school time.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, of the 6 questions, question number 1, how will the roundabouts accommodate school buses? Personally, I'm not an architect, not a contractor, but I'm just having trouble seeing how the roundabouts will be, for lack of a better term, big enough to allow for the size of the school buses traveling through them. Just through simple observation of the locations of the roundabouts, personally, I would need clarification on how the buses can maneuver through the roundabouts. If the roundabouts are not going to encroach on the newly built home located near Collins and Pat Dixon intersection, the school grounds where the retired teacher monument is located. Meanwhile, down at the intersection of Pat Dixon and Charles Rogers, I'm having trouble understanding how the roundabout will not encroach on the school board building and the monument commemorating Mr. Charles Rogers and the donation of the land for the football complex. And if the roundabouts are not going to encroach on these properties, then I'm having trouble understanding how they will be big enough to support the buses maneuvering through them.
Let me stop you there now. The engineering firm that's designed these has designed many of them, not just 1 or 2, but several. the people, the construction company that's got the contract has built several. They tell me, you're talking about school buses, these roundabouts will accommodate a tractor trailer and a 52-foot trailer to go through and handle it. They've even considered some farm equipment, things that go in there, and they say they'll have absolutely no problem with any of this, and they will not interfere with the monuments that you're talking about.
Okay, that's what they're saying.
Okay, all
But
right.
I'm having trouble understanding. And also regarding the buses traveling through the roundabouts is the question of continuous flow of traffic. I'm having trouble understanding how there will be a continuous flow of traffic. Roll with me here, no pun intended. Once the buses leave the middle school and pull out onto Pat Dixon, and then travel through the roundabout on their way to the elementary and preschool buildings, once those buses begin this trek, they will be the continuous flow of traffic. I don't see how they will be able to yield to the traffic coming into the roundabouts and from the other 3 points of entry. It seems to me that this will cause a backup at these entry points, perhaps even stopping traffic that has entered the roundabout. Again, going back to the size of the things. Once these 3 points are held up, traffic is going to, the way I'm just envisioning this, traffic will then back up down the Pat Dixon Road toward the football field. On that end, there will be the crossing guard who will be stopping traffic for pedestrians at elementary school. This in turn is going to back up traffic at the board office location. So in the way I envision this situation developing, the term continuous flow of traffic is a moot point at best and a dream term at worst. Question 2, how will the traffic flow presented in the diagram on the city's Facebook page really work? I printed the diagram that is on the city's Facebook page, and I just want to go through this very quickly. This is last week when I said that I was worried about it, and Mr. Purser paraphrased me with my concerns of how to drive one. Now, again, roll with me, no pun intended. I'm going to use simple terms. I'm not going to worry about north, south, east, or west. At the bottom of the diagram, we have the red car coming into the roundabout. The red car apparently has the choice of turning right or going on around to go straight through.
Or coming around.
All right, the blue car has the option to go around and go through the top of the roundabout. Now that's with only 2 cars. Now here's my question. If 2 cars are coming in from this side,
Well, that's on
the
there.
right side,
I don't know who put this in there, but
Then,
that's in there.
well, just
all your traffic's going in the same direction.
saying, well, but here's the thing. If this car comes in from the right side, and they are going to go, I'm assuming then you could turn it this way, they'd have the option to go all the way around. If the blue car is wanting to go straight through here, what is going to keep a collision from happening?
See, you're misreading it a little bit too now. What you're looking at, take the blue car at the bottom of your page. What it's done, it has gone all the way around. It has the option of turning, going there, turn. That car is going.
I'm talking about right
Let me
here.
interject
If
on
it's
that.
just,
They're bringing up a valid argument because the parents park and walk their kids across the street.
across the school. But now watch this. Going back to what I'm saying here, just look with me now. If this blue car,
Okay, this one.
okay, the blue car is choosing to come all the way through. And then, so when they get to this other side, they are essentially going straight through. In other words,
That's
if
correct.
this middle wasn't here, they'd come straight through.
All right.
Now, what I'm concerned about is a car comes in here on the outside lane and wants to go all the way around.
He just follows the line and keeps in the circle.
Okay, but, so this guy's supposed to stay in the middle till he gets a chance to come over? This blue car, if he tries to come this way with a red car coming straight through here, there's going to be a crash right there. Now, that being said, this is what I'm getting at there. Perhaps someone might respond that we're going to rely on the common sense of the drivers in the roundabout to yield to one another. Gentlemen, therein lies the rub of so many of us that oppose this project. We're going to put the success and safety of this project in the hands of common sense. My daddy always said common sense wasn't a common thing. Question number 3. I would like to ask for clarification on the design of our roundabouts. In doing some research, limited as it may be, on the roundabouts on the internet, They seem anywhere from very basic in design to something like an interstate intersection. I know ours won't be that complicated, but most seem to have some sort of lane dividers entering and exiting and some sort of curbing either all the way around or at least built up at the entry and exit points. Since safety seems to be what is the basis of the driving force behind our roundabouts, my question would be, what safety measures in construction will assure that when an accident occurs, a vehicle will not go careening off into the board office, the elementary school, the campus of the middle school, or the newly built home near the Pat Dixon and Collins intersection? Again, safety seems to be one of the driving forces of the project, based on a DOT report that was referenced at the last meeting. And in fact, the comment was made, the council is not who came up with this idea, it was people who have more expertise in traffic safety. Maybe the council did not come up with this idea, but the council is who voted for it to become a reality in our town, a reality that many stringently oppose. Question 4. Why is the city so persistent, so determined, there's a word I want to use that is somewhat uncouth and unprofessional, but to convey my passion about this, I'm going to use it. Why is the city so hell-bent on roundabouts? When the project can be scrapped for other options, four-way stops, traffic lights, leave things the way they are, or at least postpone it to have a better option or even maybe a better roundabout, referring to my previous question about the construction of the roundabout, as I'm under the impression that the only curbing is going to be on the inside portion. My understanding is that there will be no curbing on the outside. It will be just as a road is now, asphalt meeting dirt, which is my concern about if there is an accident and there's no curbing or barrier wall, what is going to keep a car, if there's an accident, from winding up, sitting in the lady's lap in the Board of Education office? Question number 5, which goes back to question 4, really. But why not do one really nice, good roundabout at one intersection, get the curbing right, get the job done right, make it big enough, make it work, and do a four-way stop at the other end? Or better yet, why not just a four-way stop?
Let me say something if I may. I understand at the Pat Dixon and Charles Rogers intersection to keep traffic freely flowing, but I really don't believe, and I'm not speaking for the entire council, but I'm speaking for myself. I don't think there was really much thought given that there is a crosswalk of kids 30 feet
Up the road.
up the road,
Yes, sir.
which is going to hold the roundabout back.
Roundabout, again, continuous flow of traffic is not continuous. So I'm asking, why wouldn't we consider another option of doing one really good roundabout, do a four-way at the other? That's question number 5. Question number 6, this gets kind of into finances, which I don't pretend to be a master of. But why was the city allowed to go over budget on the airport, potentially increasing the debt of our city, and now being allowed to enter into another costly project that, if it goes over budget, could place even more undue debt on our city government and ultimately our citizens, when four-way stops or traffic lights could be potentially installed more economically? Last week, in response to a question that I asked, when I asked the question, was the portion that the city would have to contribute to the roundabout more than the cost of a four-way stop? This body confirmed that yes, there is a grant, but that the city's portion would cost more than a four-way stop. An answer that I failed to see in the article in the paper, to paraphrase my comments and questions. Also last week, the comment was made, full speed ahead. The Titanic went full speed ahead, and we all know how that turned out. There are those that might argue or be convinced that the grant is earmarked or is conditional on being spent on roundabouts, or that we might not get the money again if we don't use it for the roundabouts. Having worked as a governmental auditor in the past with city and county governments, I'm aware of earmarks and conditional expenditures of grants, but it's my understanding that this grant is not conditional on being spent on a roundabout. That a change order could be put in, and that the change order could be used to change it. You still accomplish the purpose of the grant, increase safety, but you change the methodology of how the grant is used. And even if it was conditional, then I would say to the agency giving the grant, thanks, but no thanks. Let them keep their grant money, they'll take their toys and go home, and then we can spend our money on our own toys, four-way stops, or traffic lights. And I'm beginning to wrap up. If the city has even the potential of going into more debt or has the opportunity to spend less money than the portion required to be spent with the grant, then I, as a taxpayer, would question the judgment in how my tax dollars are being spent. One might argue, well, it's a grant, it's free. If it's coming from the government, it's not free. Taxpayers pay for it, whether it's operating funds or whether it's a grant. Grants come from taxpayer money. Gentlemen, the taxpayers, the citizens are voicing their concerns. Certainly they're not here voicing them in this room in the proper forum, but Facebook is aglow with the opinions of the people. And while certainly the opinions are not unanimous, they are quite numerous in the ones that oppose this project. I stand before you tonight using the proper forum to voice my stance on the roundabout project. I thank each of you for the opportunity to do so, and I thank you for your time and your devotion to this council, to our town, and I thank you for the good work and the things that you have done in your respective positions. I have known most of you for many years and have some connection with each of you. Mr. Mayor, I went to school with two of your children. Mr. Raymond, you and I have a connection from the school system with my late father. Mr. Bloodworth, you and I went to school together. Mr. Johnson, I've come to know you through the hospital. Unfortunately, as we get a little older and this gets a little grayer, we have more need of a hospital, so I have come to know you a little better. And Mr. Griffin, not here tonight, is my direct representative on this council, and I, of course, do business with this store from time to time. So as you see, gentlemen, I have some connection with each of you, and I'm only one citizen. Many, many others have connections with you. My concern is that this roundabout is causing a disconnect between the council and the citizens. And while those who oppose the project may not voice their stance here, I fear they may voice their stance in another way that could have a negative impact on your ability to serve our town. If that were to happen, what could be the missed opportunities that you might otherwise have had to do good for our citizens, for our town? I truly believe that is what you truly want to do. Good for our citizens and our town. In that vein, I ask you to reconnect, reconsider, and rescind the roundabout project. Thank you. God bless.
Thank you.
Thank you, Norm.
Any others?
I do want to commend you highly for your research and some extreme valid points that you brought to our consideration. Once again, there are highly considerable points that we need to look at. I did have some things down there. You said something about signs and the danger. I still have one that I've had a promise that if there's any damage to it, the city's going to take care of that. But
The fact of the matter, people don't want this project. And I just don't feel like it's in the best interest to do it. I mean, really, think about it. It's not. $100,000 more burden to people. And y'all have not put some consideration into that one roundabout there at Pat Dixon, Charles Rogers. There's a crosswalk that they walk the kids across that's going back the roundabout. We gotta use common sense.
I probably shouldn't insert this, but I'm going to. I had a man in the office here a day or two ago, local citizen. He and his family went to Europe. And they went and traveled quite extensively all through Europe. He came back in there and sat down, and we and I had some conversations since he got back. And he said, "Ben, you know, it's amazing, all through Europe, around, that's the new traffic control." And he said, "I was amazed that there was no people blowing horns around here." He was also got into the fact, I want to make this brief, we've been here long enough. He said, "I was amazed at the courtesy of those people." He says, "Here, if somebody does something wrong, we get on the horn, book deep," and he says people there were working together. There was lanes of traffic 3 lanes wide, and everybody working together around. And I'll have to share this with you. I was in Athens, Greece, a few months ago. And the hotel that I stayed in, it was around about in front of it, had 3 lanes of traffic. Street coming in there, the street over here, this one coming back. I mean, there's not a traffic light. It was around about in front of that hotel. 3 lanes of traffic. I didn't see the first, did you hear the first horn blow? It's, I think we have decided, and people make mistakes, but this thing has been looked at and re-looked at and looked at again with the tremendous problem we have with officers out there directing traffic. And we really believe that when people get accustomed to the system and feed themselves in it and work it out, it'll cut down our labor cost. It'll be people, now where people out there making the left turn on Pat Dixon Road, and that's where the wrecks come in, the stopping and turning left and bam. We really feel, Mr. Dixon, that we've analyzed it, we've looked at it, and some of us, including me, have made some, but we have looked at it and we think we would be foolish here. We have to take the heat. We have to, that's part of our job. But we've analyzed it and we're willing to take the heat that the control and the safety of our children, the crosswalks that we're putting in, and the traffic's going national. They're going to be, now they're flying out there, one way or the other. Of course, the 4-way stop, everybody has to stop, and then everybody tries to go. We have concluded, sir, that this is in the best interest of our community, and we are proceeding in that direction.
Okay, in that vein then, you said the 4-way stop. That 4-way stop at Broxton Highway, Charles Rogers, is working really well. If the roundabout was so great, why wasn't a roundabout put there?
It's a different,
And if that's
it's a
working,
totally different
and
application.
if that's working, why not 4-way stops?
Okay, you've made your statement, thank you.
But I must say something for as Commissioner myself. Again, I appreciate the community, and I want this to go out to the city, because God knows I want to do the best for our citizens. When this came up, almost just about 4 years ago, what Ms. Dixon was just talking about, those questions was rationalized and thrown out at that time. And we sat here because some of us questioned roundabouts. The only thing that I have a problem with now is I'm so glad that the citizens are coming and talking to us, because that's what we need. We need your input, and we don't want them to think that we ignoring them, because God knows I will never ignore the people of that city. But what has me concerned is all of my training that you have allowed me to go to, I'm taught through the GMA, the Georgia Municipal Association. If you ever receive any kind of money, even if it's grants that can be utilized for something else, and you take that money and you manipulate it, or you do anything different, you take the points away from other stuff down the road. I'm so afraid that we can hurt ourselves more by going against it. If this thing don't work, we got bulldozers going there and bulldoze it down and put some. No, serious, y'all. I'm serious. Because if the people don't want it, but because we're so far in accepting it, we're a long ways in accepting it. That's my feeling. Now, I'm afraid we're going to hurt ourselves even more if we stop in the middle of it and send 100,000 back. We may not get 500,000 again. Because God knows, I think we can borrow enough to push it over, you know, if we have to. But let's give ourselves a chance to try it. If it doesn't work, let's get rid of it. Let some new thing, let's try it. But 4 years ago, when this started off, I sat right here with Tom and said, roundabouts, when I got on that and in Brunswick, I couldn't come off. And I was driving them, but of course I don't drive now. But I couldn't come off until I closed my eyes. And then I went around. The Lord in him, but I'm serious because I want the citizens of this city to know I was afraid. I went around it about 4 times then couldn't get off. I said, what is this? Never seen one in my life. So when I went around the next time, I just prayed and said, God, I'm in your hands. And I closed my eyes. And just went.
If you'll
And I
get
just
down
went.
around Fort Frederica and come up at the red light, you don't have to go through the thing.
Oh,
So
yeah.
I can get you around St. Simon's like going to the
Gentlemen,
red
wait,
light.
let him.
But anyway, I'm through this and I'm through. But when I done that, they blowed at me. Yelling at the man, they did. There's a lot of blowing because I didn't know who was behind me in front. But I got off of it.
Mhm.
And then I done my best not to get back on.
Amen.
But to the citizens, I don't want us to hurt ourselves. That's because we trying to do the best for you and do the best that we can. If it doesn't work, we may have to stand here and say, hey guys, we got to borrow $100,000 to push it over. So we're gonna have to get out there to do it. So let's try.
All right, thank you.
I want to say something quickly, that I have to echo what Dwayne just said. I feel that I'm behind the cue ball on this particular thing, but I have to honor what the research that I've been told that the council has done for my time, and I have to believe in what they've done. Now you have some very valid points. I did not see some of these things, but I was not there for the research to be done in that position.
Thank you. Gentlemen, anybody else got anything to bring up? Yes, ma'am.
Yes. As a citizen of this county and as a taxpayer person, I want to reiterate that I think y'all are wrong in not going ahead and voting on the insurance tonight. Y'all have my prices. Y'all have everything that I have. Now y'all going down to wine and dine down at this GMA meeting, and y'all have everything I've got. And they can come back and give us a price, $10 under mine or whatever. And I'm a citizen of this county, and in all due respect to y'all, because I'm not trying to be ugly to y'all in any shape, form, or fashion, but I just feel like that y'all are incorrect, and it's against the law, I believe, for us to have a date when we're supposed to have a bid in, and then you allow another company from out of town even, allow them a weekend that I'm being wined and dined to do this.
Please let the record reflect, I wanted to take a vote on that tonight.
Well, I appreciate that too, John, because that's the right thing to do.
Thank you, ma'am.
But I think, okay, on this end now, I just think that you're absolutely right again. We have to do the system. But we can't wait till the time for these bids to be in a couple of days. Y'all, we need, not with you, but with us, we need a month or so to start talking about it. This is not the first time this has happened. We wait till the last minute to sign when we should already have this kind of thing in.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Can
Yes,
I
ma'am.
speak?
Yes, ma'am.
I just want to thank the council for seeing about Walnut Street that I complained about. It's mighty nice to go to church and not hit all them bumps and holes in the road. Thank y'all.
Thank you for that positive comment. Okay, anything else?
One last thing, Mr. Here's the written copy. You can go ahead.
You go ahead.
Mr.
Okay, Mr. Bloodworth, you say you've got a executive session item that you want to handle?
Yes, sir.
Make a move that we go into executive session.
I make a motion to go into executive session.
Is there a second? All in favor say aye. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll be gone for just a little while, I hope. We will return. Bloodworth,
Make a motion to come back from executive session.
motion made to come to the regular session. Is there a second? Any further discussion? Here none, I call for vote. All in favor say aye. Ladies and gentlemen, we do made an executive session and took no action. Mr. Johnson?
So move.
Mr. Johnson moves that we adjourn.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? We're adjourned. Thank you, gentlemen.
See you down there, man. You have experience, y'all.